Director Sumter, who is not here this evening. And, let's see, do we have any changes to the agenda then?
No changes, but well, actually there is a change, but we don't need to move anything around. In the constructability report, there is an updated resolution to include the correct language, so that there was just one word missing, and so it's
Was it me?
Are we gonna be able to see that change?
yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We will, it'll be up on the screen.
Okay. And then we're gonna move to the audience participation, and I have 4 people signed up to speak. And is everyone here to speak in regards to fencing, or anyone different? Okay. Couple? Okay. Just so you know too, if you are here for the fencing, that will also be covered. If you'd like to stay later, it will be also covered in our operations. Okay, Heidi Dawson.
Good evening, directors. I don't know if you remember, I came a couple of more board meetings ago to talk about a mental health awareness fair that I was putting on with Jana Robinson. It was mentioned to have one in Sultan as well as Monroe. So I have three topics to hit on. We are now working with the VOA, and there will be a suicide prevention party in the park. It's called Party in the Park. It'll be held on September 9th from 1:30 to 4 and in River Park. There will be giveaways and raffles, games, service providers will be there, free food, music, dunk tank. Thanks to Charlie and Transportation. There will now be transportation from the park back to Gold Bar, because that was one of our concerns, is making sure that our entire district was included. So now we have transportation for kids back to Gold Bar after the event. This event is geared more towards middle school and high school students and suicide prevention. So the Sky Valley Fire will be there, Sultan PD will be there, mingling with the kids, letting them know that they're people too, and they're just as human as everybody else, and getting to know them so they can learn to interact with them outside of the emergency situations. Student support advocates from the Sultan School District and other staff will be on site as well. I'd love it if you guys could be there, just to have that presence so that students know that they can come to you and talk to you and that you're available for them if they need you. They're also doing a mural, which is called Wings of Strength, and it will basically be, they'll have little wings they can write what makes them strong, and then they'll put them into a wing formation so that you can take pictures with it, and that can be shared all over the valley. We're also going to have the 988 crisis line there, the suicide prevention line, and unified counselors. We'll have local counselors available so that the kids can get to know them and talk to them. Should be a really great event and very local, geared mainly towards the teenage, middle school and high schoolers though. So we'll move on to the Monroe event that I talked about before. We're definitely doing that. It's called the Sky Valley Mental Health Awareness Fair and Family Fun Day. I know that's a mouthful. But that is going to happen Sunday, September 18th at Sky River Park in Monroe from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we're super excited to announce that Providence and Everett is coming alongside of us to partner with us. This is a big thing. It's bringing in a lot of very large service providers. We have about 30 service providers right now. So things like NAMI, Arcatoma County, Ideal Options, Molina, things like that. They're all coming together to be in the same place, so people can find everything at once. We also have roughly about 20 vendors, so all the fun stuff, jewelry and cookies, and so it's a lot of fun. We'll have a foam cannon and bubbles for kids, carnival style games with free prizes. We also have a company coming on board to do a live DJ and a breakdance battle, like professional dancers are coming in. And then in between the preliminaries and the finals, the crowd can come in and show their stuff if they'd like to. It should be a lot of fun. So the other thing that we would are so proud to announce that Q Actual is they're a main sponsor of ours, and this is something I would love to be able to connect Sultan with. Monroe School District is going to be using it. It's a suicide prevention app, and it's amazing. They're like 4 main things that they do, or 4 elements basically. The first part is peer support. So you sign in, you put our information in, and you have a core group of people that you can talk to when you're having issues, and you chat with them, and they can check in with you and make sure you're okay. The second is it's a single button push emergency response. So this is amazing. So basically you can push that button if you're thinking about harming yourself or suicide and things like that, and it alerts your personal squad of people It also gives them your exact GPS coordinates so they can send somebody to you for help. Now, if you don't respond to those poor people within 5 minutes, it takes to the next step and we'll send it off to like the 988 crisis line so that they can get bigger people involved in the situation. The third part is the data analytics. So they are HIPAA compliant, but this is just the aggregate data. So say that Sultan was using this app and in Monroe they noticed the emergency button was pushed 5 times. They can go in and look and see that it was all at the high school or the middle school, and you can go in at the building level and look at what happened in that month and kind of figure out what's going on in your district and really watching it very closely. The fourth one, which I'm excited about, because if you've ever had to try to look for any type of counseling, help, psychologists, the lines are long and hard to get into. They have a clinician dashboard. So you, these are all the specialists, the psychologists, the suicide prevention, all those people are available, and you can give them permission to see all of your medical data, and then they monitor you, and you will go in every day and do like a 30-minute check-in, or 30 second, not minutes, 30 second, real quick, just how you feeling. And they can watch your trends. So if they notice that on Mondays, those are your days where you're not feeling very great, they can come in and work with you and say what's going on Monday, what's happening, and figure that out. They also can, they have your name in colored bubbles. So if you're green, you're good. If you're yellow, you're kind of starting to go in the wrong direction. But by orange, they can come in and preemptive strike and help you before you get to crisis mode, which is amazing because most people don't get help until they're already at that crisis mode, and then it's a really hard battle. So I would really love to connect them with you, and they'd like to connect with the Sultan School District. But those are my 3 things, and I think it's going to be great. I would love if you were all there for the Sultan event and the Monroe event. I will follow up, of course, with an email, as always, with all this information, because I know I talk fast and it's a lot to take in. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Heidi.
Good job on that too.
Jeff Estes?
Well, it's hard to follow up after what I just said. But thank you for that. And years ago, gosh, pushing 20 years ago, I was really involved with the community VOA and Boys and Girls Club, and I know those types of programs are so beneficial. And the one in Sultan is on the 9th?
Yes.
And is that a Friday? Or?
It's at Friday and early release Friday, so it's at 1:30 when the kids get out of school, so they can just kind of migrate to the park, and then Charlie will make sure they get where they need to go.
Okay. If there's anything I can do, they'd certainly call on me to come and help.
Okay. Always looking for volunteers.
Thank you, Heidi. The only thing I can add along those lines is the Volunteers of America informed me that it doesn't look like they're going to have a Safe Stop program this year. Looks like they did get some grant money to build a new teen center, and they're on campus. And I'm happy that they used some of my words and input to apply for that grant, so I am proud about that. But I was kind of hoping they'd get a bigger program, the Safe Stop program going, but there's always next year. And they do have the teen night, that's every Friday night, in conjunction with the Boys and Girls Club. What I want to come and just mention was a couple of things about the budget. And I come to these meetings, I've come to them a long time, and I'm still learning, I'm learning every day. Just the other day, I learned that teachers in elementary school actually buy books for some of their students. Maybe not at this district, but at other districts, and I was shocked at that because when I went to school, we had curriculum books provided for us, and we had the libraries, and of course we had scholastic book fairs as well, but I never realized teachers are on the hook to actually having to buy books for reading programs for students. So I'm learning something every week, if not every day. But as far as the budget, I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. One is on the certificated. It seems like the budget or the payroll on that goes up about $1 million every year. It looks like at least going back to 2019, 2020. And I'm wondering if that's typical of a school district this size with the number of students enrolled. And follow up on that is I'm wondering who is on that negotiating committee, or I'm not sure if that's part of collective bargaining or what have you. But are all the members of the school board involved on that, or is there a specific team, and is that public information? Those are the only questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Next we have Elroy Oster.
Good evening. This fence issue is coming back up on item 4, so are we be able to talk then too, or is this the only time you get to talk?
This will be the opportunity to speak, but there will be more information provided
Okay,
later in the meeting.
okay, I live on 713 Junction Lane. That's the one with the brown fence that's always mowed back there. And I object to the fence. No, I don't object to the fence is fine as long as I can have a gate put in. Right now, I have a gate in my fence. The fence, as you notice, the fence stops right there, my property line. That was because the school board back then, when the field was built, we had the Mariners grant to build that field. And I did a lot of the work there. Actually, our company did all the infield and the outfield sand placement. But I helped with the drainage, the clearing of land, and everything else. And Craig Racers at that time was on the school board and that, and that's why the fence stopped there, so I can have access to my yard. So right now, the fence you see there now, a post comes out and 2 of the panels come out, so I have access to get into my yard to bring furniture in or to work in my yard. And I plan on remodeling my kitchen here pretty soon, so I need to get an excavator back there eventually too. So I have no problem with the new fence as long as I can have a gate put in, and I'm willing to pay for the gate, so I can still have access to my yard. That's my main issue. So I've had it since 28 years, I've had access to it, you know. And you can see, my place is always maintained. If you ever come back that way, you can see that one section that's always mowed. That's my section. Thank you.
Thank you.
Craig Young.
Yes, hi. Craig Young, 715 Junction Lane. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate the school board. I know this is not an easy thing to do, to face the public and deal with all the issues, and really grateful to that. Grateful to Charlie Weaver. He put a note on our doors so that we knew that there was going to be an issue coming up with a fence at the high school. And that's why we're here, really grateful for that. I've been in Sultan since 1990. My daughter went to school here, and then she went over to the middle school when it was a brick building with a leaky roof, and then she graduated from the high school. So I've been here quite a while. I live right next to Elroy. We are the lot that has all the trees in front, and there's one tree in particular, a cedar, that's about 3 feet from the fence line right now that I would like to see saved if possible. I also am curious if there is an overall perimeter fencing plan for our schools. That's like, I know that Charlie is very optimistic that this section of fence will enclose the perimeter of the high school, but the entire east side of the high school is open, unfenced, and the north side has a 6-foot fence over part of it, and then a large portion of that is unfenced. So this section of fence that's going to go in will not enclose the perimeter. So I would just like to know whether or not there is a plan, not only for this school, but for the middle school and the elementary school, to enclose those perimeters so that we are working towards student safety. So basically, I'm with Elroy. I don't object to the fence per se. I would like to make sure that that is part of a program that will ensure safety and is not just window dressing. And we also have had access to the high school. It's kind of like this fence is going to fence out the citizens who are actually looking after the school. My dog and I for 30 years have been walking back there, and our daughter walks back there. If we see a window open, we call somebody. If we hear a commotion back there, we go in and find out what's going on. That will keep us out. So I would also, if a fence does go in, which it sounds like, would like to pay for an access door so we can get in, walk the dog. If we hear a commotion, go in and see what it is. But anyway, I also love to save that cedar tree. It's like when we moved here in 1990, it was 1 foot tall. Right now, it's about 12 inches in diameter. In 1,000 years, I told Charlie, we'll name it the Charlie Weaver tree. It could be the memorial tree for him. There's no reason that tree couldn't be saved. The fence could go in, make everybody happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to the consent agenda. questions about the consent agenda as it is?
No.
Okay, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
And then we'll move to presentations. Anybody from SEA, PSC, Teamsters, PTA Booster Clubs, ASB?
So we have an ASB representative, he's not gonna be here until we start school, he's got band practice, I believe,
Okay,
6:30 to 8 PM, and so, it's difficult to try to do both of those right now, but once we get into the school year, he will be present at these meetings and provide regular board meeting updates of what's happening at the high school and with all activities ASB.
well, that'll be nice, we haven't had that for a while. After COVID and the year before almost. Okay, financial report. Dan Buller, you're up again.
Evening, directors. Just kind of jump in. Obviously, the summer reports are a little bit more abbreviated because we don't have enrollment to talk about in the month of July and August, but we'll be back to that soon. So I do give you the tax report, Snohomish County tax report. As far as that's concerned, it's pretty standard. Not really a lot to go into there. We'll be having the fall collection coming up here soon. And then the new amounts will be levied for calendar year 2023. Again, taxes are levied on a calendar year, not a fiscal year. The budget status reports, as I am prescribed to provide to you on a monthly basis for general fund, $2,139,013. Again, this is as of July. Fund 20, our capital projects fund, $2,674,394. Fund 30, debt service fund, $127,752. Fund 40, associated student body, $172,180. And Fund 90, transportation vehicle fund at $3,734. Then we were able to get the reports fixed. Again, last month we had some issues as far as the export for the exception, what are called the exceptions reports. So we have those representations for salaries and benefits, material supplies and operating costs, and then the combined on the third one. Not a lot of change, to be perfectly honest, as far as those. For salaries and benefits, district-wide, we're running 2% behind where we had anticipated we would be. So that's good. When you're always behind, that's a good thing. We're 2.1% behind proportionate share on material supplies and operating costs, and 2% in total when you consider salaries, benefits, and material supplies and operating costs. We are 2% below proportionate share, where we're now at 10 of the 12 months complete, or excuse me, 11 of the 12 months complete. And then the fund balance history, the next page, just basically, again, we're getting down, we've got 1 month left to go. The July number is we represented on the budget status report, the $2,139,013. Anticipating at this point, August, $1,718,683. You might remember from the budget hearing that we had earlier this evening, at the time that was put together, we were projecting 1.65 million, so that number has gone up a little bit. The estimate has gone up slightly from where it was previously. If it had gone the other direction, we would have done a revision, but again, it's to the positive, so we just stayed with the 1.65 million. But at this point, looking at probably about 1.7, just a little north of 1.7, probably, as far as anticipated ending fund balance for August, the end of this month, once we get all the year-end entries and adjustments and stuff taken care of. Then just a graphical representation of how our fund balance kind of ebbs, flows, and changes from month to month, from year to year. And then we're looking at the if the 1.718 number does materialize, that would put us at 5%, which is above the minimum fund balance requirement per district policy. That is my report. Yes, sir.
One quick question. When I was looking through some of this, I saw an expenditure for the turf, and that reminded me, whatever happened to the application for the,
Still haven't heard anything back.
was that right?
It was applied for, but no response.
You're talking about the grant, right?
Yeah, the USA football, whatever
USA
that was.
Is there a chance of just shoot them an email or something and say?
Well, and I followed up twice and no reply, and there's no phone number to call, so. I'm just kinda,
Wow.
I had Renee, my secretary, also send me.
Okay, well, yeah.
I don't know what, it closed already, so I don't know if they haven't
Close at the end of
determined.
May, didn't it?
Mhm.
And they may, you know, it's a national thing, they may not be through them yet, for all we know. Even though it seems like, gosh, that was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
The organization may just have so many of them that, you know, I don't know.
Maybe they don't review them in the summer.
And there might not be a phone number on purpose, because
Right.
everybody would be
It's nice.
bothering them, you know?
Typically, I would expect an award letter or a.
Denial letter.
Denial letter, basically, something formal. come
What
in
was the
mail
name of
with
the
you, I guess.
organization?
I felt like it was USA football.
Is it USA football or is it through the NFL?
It was through the NFL.
Yeah.
But yes, they fund USA football as
Yeah.
well.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Director.
Oh yeah, you're still up briefly, but yes.
Yes, so
We'll move on to the budget adoption. And I think we discussed all the,
yeah, I think it's resolution 2115, is that right, Ken? Yeah, resolution 2115 has been prepared. It has been reviewed by our legal team. It has also been reviewed by the ESD, so that the amounts in the appropriations column there in the paragraph, those match to the budget document, the summary pages on the budget document as far as expenditures are concerned. All you are approving is expenditure authority, okay? Keep in mind again that a budget is just ability to expend. That's what that means, is that we can expend up to those amounts, but not in above without doing a budget extension.
So then I have a question, maybe this will help provide some understanding. So the general fund says 36,512,960. That's just, we can expend that much.
Correct.
So it's projected higher than the money we have in case we get grants or other things.
Correct. You
And so-
build capacity in there.
So this is probably $1 million more than the actual money we have in our budget.
Correct. Standard budgeting protocol for a district our size is that we build in $1 million of budget, we call budget capacity. And as Dan just said, that is, if we were so fortunate to have a benefactor come and give us $1 million, hand us a check for $1 million, we would have authority to spend, or let's say, something like that. We would have authority to expend that without having to come and do a budget revision. You don't want to make it so tight that if something like that were to happen, you have to go through that process of doing a budget revision. But you are correct. Actual expenditures, should no unforeseen benefactor appear, will probably be $1 million less than that, yes.
okay.
So this is just, again, it goes through essentially the things that we talked about in the budget hearing. It does mention the four-year budget summary, and this would be the document to approve to formalize the budget that was presented earlier this evening.
Do I have a motion to approve the budget adoption for 2022-23 F-195 and F-195F as presented?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion moves.
Thank you, directors.
So this next one, we need to get Tex on the line, but let's pull up the resolution so that we can identify for everybody.
Hey, I don't
He's
have
still
a
working on yours.
chance to do that.
I might be able to share with you.
Pulling up your document at the moment. So the resolution 2116 is on the screen for everybody to see, not
It's
that
also on the screen there, or behind us.
Dan, do you want to, do the other boards aware of what my phone call was about?
No, haven't had a chance to talk to him. And so we can go through that, and since you and Tex talked today, I think putting him as part of the conversation there was a question that Director Hessman had called me today, and it had to do with this constructability report being based from June 2021, which was the initial building we were going to build. And so we had kind of moved on from it, and Tex, are you hearing this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and so then Tex called me a week or so ago and said, OSPI wants us to go ahead and put that report through anyway, even though that was on a building that they considered custom, and we've simplified the design. And so we added some verbiage or a word to the resolution that separates the current building from the 2021 constructability report. This is ground that we covered in the process when we went through the value engineering, correct?
Actually, the constructability review, which was a year ago, yep, that's an earlier step prior to the value engineering, yep.
Yeah. So that's my summary, but if I got anything a little bit off there, Tex, why don't you talk a little bit about what everybody's looking at with this resolution and what word was changed to separate that out?
Sure, no, happy to do that. So just a real basic, real short background. First of all, so the constructability review, as Dan mentioned, was a year ago, and that actually was a process that went through for a week with a group of construction experts that went through the plans and did a lot of review, provided a lot of comments, I think 21 pages of comments. And then those are given to the architect, and that's a step OSBI requires that you go through during the construction process, you know, before you get to the end of the line, but so you can have input for the architects. So that happened a year ago, and then, of course, once we weren't able to go ahead, the plans, as Dan said, have been simplified and kind of cut back. But the information that was gleaned from that process was still valuable and still in use. And we actually had a letter that kind of documented that. But with a change in personnel at OSBI and with us coming back in again, and actually there was an error on that that I had made, and they said, well, let's just do it new so it's nice and clean and it's in the package. So this resolution is simply just saying, yep, we went through that process a year ago. It was reflected, the architects reflected that as they worked through the process. And then what Ed and I talked about today was that he was just a little concerned about because it was a year ago, and so we added the sentence at the beginning, at the end of the first paragraph there, under the be it resolved, it just says, the constructability report carries over to the final project plans. So that was still valuable information back then, and it still helped in the overall design, but we were not required to do it again and go through that whole process, which is an expensive process, about $20,000. Fortunately, OSBI is going to pay the district, reimburse us 90% of that, so $18,000 of that will come back, and this document is just kind of allowing that process to go through. So we're kind of cleaning up something that needed a little attention, and kind of old news, really, but I'm happy to answer any other questions or provide any additional clarification.
Just from my standpoint, Tex, that looks good to me. I love that word carryover.
Great.
Gigi,
No, I have no questions.
you good?
I'm good.
Okay, Dan, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I'm good.
Okay.
So I'll move that we adopt the constructability.
Report and implementation with the updated language.
Correct.
So we have a
I'll
motion of a
second.
second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion stands.
Tex, any comments before we go ahead and let you go off to your evening?
Thank you very much. I appreciate you taking this extra little step to help us out. And I'll just mention that it's real exciting. Tomorrow we're submitting this and the last couple little items to LSBI, and we're expecting there won't be too many days here, and we'll get the final. It's called the D10 that gives the final authorization. Sign the contract, and we're ready to go. I just got a quick update from the architect, actually a little before 5 today. The final plan review for permits. You know, they've been going back and forth, and it looks like we're hoping later this week we'll get the final letter from them. Might still be a couple of real miscellaneous items, but we're very, very close to having the building permit, which is the last thing we need for that contractor to get going. So it's about showtime here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tex.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we will move on to the mural update for Auburn.
All right.
Good evening. So I'm here to talk about a potential mural that we're hoping to add to Sultan Elementary campus. This would be on the west wall of the gym. It would be roughly 78 feet long by 15 feet high, take up pretty much the entire wall of the gym. The idea came from a colleague in our neighboring district that had a street artist that they contacted that came out and incorporated a mural on their, they had a big wall on their playground, but their kids were all able to participate, do some input into the mural itself as well, help beautify their campus. And so we looked into it here, and want to bring something back here to Sultan that can help beautify our campus as well. The kids can be proud of it. It would be a big mural, about twice the size of the one that a colleague had done, but I think it's feasible. There'll be a picture here of their last submittal that they sent to me. They had a lot of different ideas. A previous drawing that they had done had the bridge in the background. It's probably something we would add back to it, the Sultan Bridge. But they're trying to capture, you know, we went back and forth if we wanted something more elementary that said words and colors and or something that highlighted the parts of Sultan that are beautiful and the things that make this place a place people want to be. And so that's why we have settled on that drawing. It's still flexible, we can change it, but I know I spoke with Charlie and with Dan initially to say, hey, is this something that we can get behind? That's now where we are here, to see if it's something you guys can support. The cost is you know, quite a bit, but at the end of the day, for a mural that big by some actual artists, getting the kids to participate, the funding for it right now, I listed as ASB funds, which I have about $40,000 available total, but I have this and more available in a fundraising account for the school to go towards things like this. I wanted to get approval before I talked with the PTO to see if they're interested in also participating in the funding of it. If they do, that would just take some of the liability off of the ASB account. But either way, there is funding available to do it. We would like to do it in September before the weather turns too terrible, assuming that it doesn't before then.
So there's no building budget, school district money at all involved?
Nope. It's all been fundraised money over the last years. When I took over principal 7 years ago, I inherited a decent amount of fundraised money from wherever it had come from. ASB money, as you know, can only be spent on certain things, not curriculum, not school, what we think of as learning, but extracurricular type activities. And so this would be an opportunity, again, to get the kids involved, to hopefully give something to the school to help beautify it, because it definitely needs it. But I think it could be something cool. I did talk to them about my fears of it being potentially, what's the word? Graffiti, vandalized, yes. They said that they will seal it with something when they're done, so if it did get spray painted or something, that you can remove the spray paint, but it won't affect the artwork underneath. They just did a mural when I was talking to them. They had just done a big one in New York City. It was really cool. Coincidentally, they got rained on the whole time. So the project would take roughly a week or a little more. Again, it would be done during school, so the kids can participate. Their idea was to have the kids brush strokes or finger paints make up all the trees that are in there. So each kid's thumb or whatever would make those trees. But anyway, that's kind of it. So asking for approval for that.
So all the students would get a chance to put their hands on it?
Correct, yeah. In one way or another, every student would have the opportunity to have some sort of input into it.
Not the kids 10 years from now.
No, they can touch it. They
That's
just,
it. But I have a couple of problems with it.
Yes,
One
sir.
is, of course, you said it's sealed, but,
yeah,
you know, these things do deteriorate.
For sure.
And what about the maintenance of it? And the other thing I'd like to see is more community input as to whether the community wants a mural on the side of the school or not. So I didn't see any input like that to this whole, people that live right here in Sultan, for example. And the maintenance could be, I don't know, significant. That's a pretty detailed mural to keep up, I think.
So with the turf that's on the south side of the high school gym, when it was sealed, we purchased extra of the sealant. We reseal it every couple of years, and I would imagine do the same thing, as, to keep the colors vibrant.
But this is, that symbol on the gym is a lot different than this.
It is, it is.
you know. But anyway, I'd like to see what the community has to say about it, and then I'd like to make sure that we can maintain the, because once those things look grungy, it actually detracts from the school. And, so I'd have to have a little more information on that.
Okay.
How would you like to have that collected or received?
Well, somebody's gonna have to poll the community,
So you wanna do a poll?
or something like that. But
I'd like to I'd say just do it, that would be my
I mean,
vote.
and in response to that, you know, I can reach out, so it's hard, you know, even just getting into this board meeting, it wasn't hard to get into the board meeting, but the timing being once or sometimes twice a month, it gets complicated to try to get
Put
it.
that thing on Facebook, we can get to the community in 20 minutes.
Right, and that's what I was trying to get at, is I would hate to have to wait till late September to come back to get that approval. I don't mind reaching out to the community, I don't know how we can do that. I don't know if we can do an approval here with then reaching out to the community. I can talk to the artists, the company, about the longevity of what they do. It's their business, I imagine they're able to say, yeah, typically they'll last this long or this long. It is a covered wall, meaning that, you know, it has the overhang, it doesn't get rain and things. It is gonna get whatever sunlight we get here, which is minimal. But
We
you're
do
not.
a
you're-
conditional approval on, we approve it, but you need to, you know, put this out and get some.
And that's what I
opinions.
don't know.
Yeah, could we do that?
I don't mind getting those, I don't mind putting that poll out tomorrow to the community on Facebook or wherever.
Because we don't wanna wait till the next month to approve it, because then you're gonna be in weather. So-
But I agree with you wholeheartedly, I mean, as a member of the community too. like,
I'm just not so
gonna-
sure about the longevity, you know,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 years down the road, and now we're stuck with this mural.
Yeah, no, I would definitely hope longer than that, but I will reach out to them this evening and get that information from them about what typical, I don't know that they're gonna
Well,
guarantee
and
it.
then what would be the maintenance, the sun does tear up the colors, but what would be the maintenance obligations on our part to actually preserve it and keep it pristine for, let's say, a 10-year period?
I mean, I'll give you my answer, I'm not a maintenance guy, I mean, the wall itself right now has been painted long before I've come here, and it, by paint standards here, I think it looks just fine, but it's never been, nobody's ever touched that wall in the 10 years I've worked here that I'm aware of, maybe other than some light washing, but, I know it's not a mural, but it does have 3 different colors of paint, and they're all still 3 different colors of paint, with no vandalism. Again, you know, I don't know that the company's gonna say, yeah, we're gonna guarantee this mural for 10 years,
Well, no,
or,
with proper maintenance, I mean, if that's what we're talking about here,
Yeah.
is something like this has to be maintained. If some kid comes up with a can of paint, of course, you're gonna have to paint it off. Somebody
So-
comes up there with their car keys, like they do keys, you know, your paint jobs in
That's
the
fine,
Safeway
that's
parking
fine.
lot, then you got a different issue.
yeah, and it is, you know, obviously our campus will be more secure, there's nothing that's gonna keep everybody out, but, you know, during the school days and things, hopefully things like that wouldn't happen because of our supervision, but, you know, anything can happen, of course, anywhere, to any of our facilities.
Anyway, that's just my
Yeah,
concern.
no,
So the one comparable that I can think of that came up in the last couple of years was the west wall of Kiss the Sky Books, where that mural had been there for, I don't know how long, I just remember reading about it, and they brought in somebody to restore it, and I think it was painted years and years and years ago. And I don't know what they did, but one of the questions that was addressed pretty significantly was trying to bring it back out and then being able to preserve it so that the quality and the uniqueness of it stayed. They discovered it by accident, I think, it's something.
It was under the siding.
It was on the siding or something. I don't remember the exact details, but I remember it
They
being
covered up the siding and
a
then
hot
they covered
topic
up
for a
the-
while. But it's, anyway. So as far as you know, whatever the board wants to do. We have done conditional. I don't know, it says in here a week to do it. Is that what I saw?
It says 5 to 7 days, depending on
5 to
weather.
7 days. Our next board meeting is September 12th. Is there any, did he tell you, or they, or she, or whoever, when what their availability in September is?
They didn't say an actual date. I imagine it's gonna take, you know, we're in late August, I imagine 2 weeks or so out to schedule it. They wanted to get in August, or sorry, in September before the weather turns, which makes sense. But, you know, if we need to wait till September 12th, that probably puts us back into October. Or, again, I'm not, however you guys are comfortable doing it, it's a decision for you guys.
There's nothing wrong with the October weather, it's November weather.
Did you see our June weather, Ed? All of our weather is just craziness. Yeah, no, I mean, it's just hit and miss. You know as well as any of us that it could start raining and not stop in next week, or it could wait until November, or it could rain all year like it did this year. So,
I have a question, it might be too late. Did we look at local artists to do something like this?
no, I didn't. You know, that's something we could do. In looking at trying to find pricing and trying to get the other company, it was a guy out of Seattle, that my colleague had used. I didn't find anything local as far as advertised companies. You know, I know years ago, somebody had done the one at Koppel's place and the one on the old post office, long time ago, but I have no idea.
I was just curious,
Yeah.
just.
And we might,
stay
I know we have a
local.
lot of local artists. The size and complexity of this being as big as it is, like I said, finding a mural company, I wasn't able to. I didn't find anything, but I also didn't look super hard.
My feeling on it is we've allowed it at the high school, we have them at the high school, and they're just fine. So I don't see any reason why this shouldn't be approved and shouldn't be approved today.
And I don't have a rock, so.
I'll get you a
So I'm gonna ask, for a motion to approve the mural for the elementary school under the supervision of Auburn Dental.
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll oppose.
Okay, motion passes.
I would recommend telling the public that this is a student hands-on activity
Yeah,
being assisted by professionals.
absolutely. I'll share the word until it was officials. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, technology update, Dave Moon.
And I left out Bree Loomis in my packet.
Dave and Bree.
Dave and Bree, it's the Dave and Bree show. They do, Kayla has our PowerPoint. So I love this. We're gonna do this once a quarter, I think, just kind of a technology update. Dan asked that each of our departments do it. Yeah, that's not gonna work either.
Huh?
Yeah. The slides are really boring, so maybe you don't even have to see them.
I'd love to see the
I thought
slides.
maybe, it's like you guys. I'm logging on
There you
one
go, do that
computer,
one right
not
there.
the other one.
We're gonna see all her cat videos here in a second. Hooray.
Open and
Technology update. That is fantastic. Okay, click. I was gonna bring a clicker, yeah. You already have a clicker. It's really brief, we're gonna take 5 minutes of your time. If you have any questions at the end, we'll certainly entertain them. Click. I just wanted to point this out, I thought this was amazing. Look at the amount of experience you have in your technology department here. I mean, that's pretty incredible. When I go to conferences or talk to my peers, they're lucky if they have somebody that sticks around for 2 or 3 years before they move on into the private sector. So I think we're pretty fortunate there. Click, thank you. Some of our highlights of this summer, building security, we've been working with Charlie's team My guys successfully installed access control systems on the front doors at the high school and the middle school. We're in progress at Gold Bar and in progress at Sultan Elementary School. It's kind of neat. You walk up, you push a button, all the phones in the office ring, they answer the phone, they see you on a camera, they ask who you are, and then they hit pound pound on the phone and buzz you in. It's kind of cool. We did it in-house, and we did it very affordably. And Charlie's team lent hands at mounting some of the stuff. Other than that, my team installed pretty much the whole thing.
If the
And
guy's outside and hits pound pound, then what happens?
the person inside that answers the phone and says, okay, you can come in, they hit pound pound, and then the door goes buzz, and they can walk up and open the door.
So any other phone won't work the pound pound?
No, it has to be one of the office phones. We also put an override button in all the offices, so they can just hit if they're looking at the camera and it's a staff member, they can just hit the button and buzz them in. And then keys still work. You know, if you're a staff member and you have a key, your key still works. So,
It shows the override button right there too.
And nothing's perfect, it's just a, you know, one little step to put a little, you know,
Distance.
the wrong person's walking through the door, we don't want them there.
Right.
And at least we can, you know, they have to do something
I'm
extraordinary.
just wondering if it's one of those deals like you go to the parking lot, you hit your open key for your car and 4 cards.
I hope not.
yeah.
No, it's not wireless.
I tried it.
It's not wireless, it's wired.
Wired.
The latch is mechanical. The latch part of where the latch meets the striker actually folds open, allowing the door to open.
I'm gonna correct Dan, there's no solution that's perfect, but this installation is perfect. My guys did a great job.
They did, and, you know, looking at this kind of a solution, have somebody outside of our organization come do it, just, it would be cost prohibitive.
Yeah, $20,000-$30,000, easy. And we're into it, $1,000 in hardware. Click.
And I'll just give a precursor that this is, when we get to the fencing and operations, we're gonna have a slightly different solution because of the fence structure, and so we'll address that when we get there. But go ahead.
Some of the fun projects, or some of the projects that we needed to do, as many of you know, the Highway 2 sign has said the same thing for the last year and a half. Parts, we're unable to get the parts. I was complaining to Debbie Koppel about it, and Debbie said, how can I help? And we worked out a deal, so we put an antenna on top of Debbie's Visitors Information Center, actually Koppel's Chiropractic Center, put a antenna on our Highway 2 sign and eliminated the needs for the parts that we were waiting on. And so our sign is up and running once again. So that was super exciting, right? I think the next one's this sign. Oh, no click.
No peeking, sorry.
We upgraded a ton of computer labs this summer. We have drop-in labs still on every campus, and they're being used. So we were able to upgrade all those labs at zero cost to the district. We still run our in-house refurbishing program with the students and staff, with my staff and some students. So we refurbished enough computers that were given to us from another school district and replaced all the computers in all of our 4 drop-in labs. The teaching lab here at Sultan Elementary School and the teaching lab at Beauvoir Elementary School. Did I mention zero cost?
Nice.
The other thing we worked on was classroom updates. So most of the classroom updates were done 2 summers ago through the last tech levy. So this summer was just getting back and finishing up some items that weren't able to be done, removing old tech, and addressing some charging issues for our student one-to-one program. Last year was our first full year of the rollout, so we had some growing pains, and we're working to address that and support teachers and make sure students are able to access their technology in a safe way in the classroom. So that was a big thing at the middle school and the high school for our one-to-one program.
A ton of classroom moves. I kind of wanted to visualize it with a neat little graphic that shows all the moves that were happening in all the buildings, but Bree talked me out of it. We probably spent about half our summer doing classroom moves, and then the new portables took up a serious chunk of our time. We had to lay hands, as you guys know, on every single iPad that we have in the district. At that time, we took that opportunity to make sure that we did an inventory. We're still compiling the list of any missing iPads, if any. We also had to update a bunch of laptops this summer, so that was a lot of student labor that we used on that one. Security updates, kind of already covered that a little bit. added some new cameras. We have some plans to add a lot more cameras at the high school and Sultan Elementary School. We just kind of got sideswiped with some other stuff taking longer than we thought it would. We have some infrastructures upgrades that happened, nothing major, but we got some major stuff happening over the next few months. Charlie's team got the huddle camera installed, which is amazing. That covers the football field. That allows the coaches to automatically record game film. It also allows us to automatically stream that game film. So if I'm short camera kids, we can just tap into that. So that's cool. Of course, the press box up there, what we did is the kids painted that for us. It looks amazing on the inside. If you're at a football game, please pop over and get a good view from there. And Wi-Fi on the buses. That was paid for by ECF funding. It didn't cost us anything. Well, it did as a taxpayer. Click.
Great, so next we just wanted to share a couple things on the horizon before we come back in a quarter and share what we've been doing. So this time of year, a lot of our energy and efforts are going to new staff support, so just making sure that they are supported in our software and learning our systems. We have quite a few new staff both at the admin level and certificated and classified level. Also with that is staff training, so this is our busiest time of year with staff training as well. We put in parentheses where the money's coming from, so we wanted to mention that that is levy provided. We are entering in, so this is since we're entering our next round of levy, we're starting to get to the very beginning of our staff laptop rotation. So 4 years ago, we got a few admin new laptops, so we're starting that rotation and then that'll continue into next year. So it's kind of exciting to start actually starting to rotate through.
Student laptops, we leveraged some ECF options for money, so we paid for student laptops this year with levy money and ECF money. So that kind of eased the hit on us a little bit.
And this year we're doing 5th grade and 9th grade as part of our yearly rotation. So all 5th graders and all 9th graders are getting new laptops as part of our levy plan.
And that's our plan forever moving forward. Every 5th grader, every 9th grader, and they have those laptops for 4 years. So it's a 4-year life cycle on that laptop. And then we get a 5th year out of those laptops at the lower grades, and maybe even a 6th year out of those laptops.
So when they rotate out of, let's say, I got a laptop 4 years ago, you switch mine out, what happens to it?
We repurpose it. So it's usually the lower grades. K through 4, K through 3 actually.
And if it's not in great shape, the in-house repairs that we do, a lot of them will go.
Yeah, they're basically new. We refurbish them completely. And then this winter, we have a big E-rate project coming up, which is replacing all of our hardware switching in all of our buildings. And E-rate pays 80% of that, levy will pay the remaining 20% of that.
What's the cost of that?
$280,000. Click. Bree, I'm gonna let you do this one.
We applied for a grant back in June and we found out early mid-July that we were recipients. So we have 2 things that we got funded in addition to our levy funding. So this year we have additional funding for a full FTE technician, which is super exciting, and we're really looking forward to the impact that will have on some of our downtime and just the support we can give students and staff. And then we also secured funding to go to an international conference that is ISTE conference that is hosted every year in different places around the country, and we have never gone, but so we are planning on going this year, and I will come back and share more info on that one and get approval. But really exciting that we secured funding for that as well.
Nice. Click. Okay. Questions? Come on, Ed.
Good job.
Excellent. Was this good? Is this what you guys were expecting? Do you want us to dive deeper, not go so deep?
It's awesome.
Okay,
Really
quarterly
great job.
works for you guys?
I have a question but I think, I'm just wondering about all of this internet stuff and the use of materials for classroom materials, for resource materials, and even curriculum. And, that opens the door to curriculum that we haven't approved. And so I'm wondering how that's going to work. As we get further and further, and this educatable or whatever it was here, eugenics, I guess, no, not eugenics, but anyway.
Ed would love
Yeah.
the conversation that we had today with the middle school.
Probably, and that'll be another time then.
Yeah, we
But
do,
I am interested in, you know, if you're teaching science and, you know, and then you get other kinds of philosophies and political stuff, and it's coming through the computer rather than through the teacher and our curriculum, and that has to be monitored in some fashion.
Right.
Why don't we weave that into our next update?
We will. Ed, just a soundbite though, is that we require all software purchases to go through our department. If it's curriculum related, we usually shoot it over to Mike for his approval as well.
Yeah.
well, all curriculums actually go
Yeah, all
through Mike.
curriculums go through Mike, yes.
Okay.
And we actually had trainings today for the math and ELA curriculum that y'all adopted in the spring/summer. And there's some computer components of that, so they are getting warmed up on that.
Nice.
Rock.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Charlie, operations update.
Hey,
Well, I don't have a fancy doodle slideshow.
shut off.
What?
No, I'm bare bones here. Okay, so, operations update and transportation update, I'm gonna kinda combine the two.
Can we start with the fence?
Yeah, I was gonna start with so I was gonna explain some of the fence stuff, because there was a question about it. This campus will be fully enclosed with the 8-foot fence. It's supposed to start the install on the 12th of next month.
The entire perimeter.
The entire perimeter,
West, east, the whole thing.
the whole thing.
This one, right here.
Mhm.
Yeah. one
The high school is out to bid.
Oh, first one's grade school.
Yeah.
Yeah, first
Okay,
grade school.
okay, okay.
Oh,
The high school is out to bid right now, and it will encompass the whole, well, not the whole campus, but it will encompass the learning area of the campus. So it will not include the parking lots. So all of the play fields, the back area, back where the portables are, I don't know how familiar with the campus, but it'll encompass all of the area that students habitate during a school day.
so right now, there's, when you come in from the east, where the gate is,
At 8th Street?
8th Street,
Mhm.
there's a fence, a 6-foot fence around the baseball field, and then a path around that that goes directly to the high school.
Correct.
So where will your 8-foot fence go? And then,
It'll go up to the baseball field, there's a section from, that isn't fenced, where there's a retaining pond between the
Right.
softball field and the baseball field. So we add there, the softball field has a section of 4-foot fence, and then it jumps up to 8. So that 4-foot fence will be eliminated, and it'll be an 8-foot fence. From the north portion of the softball field, there's an access trail road that goes on the east side of the school.
Right.
The
the
fence
fish
will go
hatchery.
on, between the trees and the edge of the road. Because we use that road for evacuation, so it's on the inside of the encapsulation. The fence will follow around that tree line up to the northeast, and then it'll shoot north to the north side of the fish lab, including the fish lab and the portables that are along the old practice field.
okay.
And it'll tie into the fence that separates that row of houses currently.
Right, the 6-foot fence, so that'll stay a 6-foot fence, that the existing one along the north side there, where the houses are.
Is it only 6?
That's 6 foot, yeah.
Is it? It's on a hillside, so it's hard to say.
Right, no,
But that won't go away. So that fence will, where the staff parking ends and the portables begin,
Right.
or the older portables, there's a kind of a walkway to the 200 hallway,
Right.
and there will be a new rolling gate there. We have a lot of students that travel through those portables to go back to the location, like the
Right,
agriculture
right.
area. And So that will be encompassed. We're also putting in sidewalks so that students don't have to walk through the mud and the muck. We do get a little bit of rain around here.
So people will be able to get into the parking lot through the front entrance, but then the rest of the campus will be
Enclosed.
enclosed.
Mhm.
And so then when you think about, I think the history of your guys' fence and all that, it's something I wouldn't have known if you didn't tell me. But I've read up on the whole Mariners deal to redo the fields, and I think it's really, the board's gotta get involved in that whole thing, but
So the 8th Street access is going away? I mean, that is good.
Correct, so that current pole gate will come out, and there will be a rolling, 8-foot rolling
Okay,
gate that will run north and south between
okay.
the baseball field and the southern border.
So then that school property, who's gonna maintain that for all the homeless ended up there now? You
So-
take that fence out, you can have homeless parking below that hill all the time.
Well, that's the city's easement. We don't own the hillside either. So Love's Hill Homeowners Association own that. I was part of that organization when we gave the easement to the city to improve that old log road, if you will, to create an evacuation route for students and community.
So where the fence is now, that's not school property? The other one that was going across at the present time on 8th Street?
It is. It's to the corner of that straight north it is.
So when you move that fence out and put it out and going the other way, you're gonna have like a turnaround there or something?
It will be a space where cars can go, yes.
And we have a lot of homeless people living up on the hill there.
We do. And the city's aware of it, and they go up there a couple times a month and clear them out, and of course, it's just like across the river, they can come back.
Across the river, not closer to our house like they are here.
No, I understand that.
Right. So when you're done, the only fence that isn't 8 foot will be the 6-foot section from the front of the school back to the maintenance area.
Correct.
Okay. So they won't be able to sneak in through around the baseball field and back by the fish hatchery?
No, it'll all be enclosed.
Okay, that's cool.
We close for summertime, open or closed?
So the idea is to, well, especially during the school day, it'll be closed.
It's always been closed.
Yeah, but there's, community does walk their animals through there during their school day, but that'll go away because we, with recent events nationally, we wanna keep our students safe, and so we wanna encapsulate all of their learning areas so that they're safe and the families feel safe bringing them here.
Like I said, I don't judge the fence at all. I just like to have access to my property,
Yeah,
if possible,
so, part of, key control, is an issue, so we'll have to have a discussion on how that could look if we decide to do that.
Okay?
I'm sure there's a solution of some sort.
Sure, I don't call,
Yeah.
matter calling up asking for permission to come through or something.
Yeah, well, you know, like
Could we get a drawing of exactly where this part of the fence is? I mean, we have the drawing of the fence, but I'd like to see exactly, I don't know what we're talking about.
So, they are along the south border of the campus. There is, where the baseball hut, press box, whatever it is, if you came directly south, that's where the current 8-foot fence stops. And then each homeowner has their own, fence. And like the community members mentioned, they are the only two that maintain out to Turk Drive. His is fully mowed, and then there's
we
some
have
shrubs.
spirea
and-
bushes we want.
Yeah, there's grapes, plums,
grapes.
cherries,
Yeah,
cedar.
and the cedar, Ed cut everything with the cedar.
Well, there used to be a trail or something in that area that came up from town and came in that south.
It's farther
So
west.
it's
That's
farther,
good.
it's farther west, it's
Yeah.
the southwest corner of the lower parking lot. That is the 5th Street, trail.
Right.
It currently stays locked just because of, that's where some of the catalytic converter
Right, right.
steps were coming through.
But this is the area that we're talking about?
No.
No,
That house is
no.
like right
over
behind
towards
the
8th
bleachers.
Street, towards the hillside.
We're just west of 8th Street.
So if you think
Okay.
of behind the stadium, there's that road that runs east and west.
Yeah.
If you follow that road to the east, the chain link fence stops, and then I think you guys live
Yeah,
right in
my
there.
property's right there. That's where they stopped the fence when I
So
built the
it
field.
stops before you get to the gate?
Yes.
Correct.
There's 4 lots that don't have,
I guess I've never observed exactly what was there, I just.
Oh.
I can meet you back there if you'd like to.
Yeah, I'd like to see
Yeah,
that
just
at
give me a
some point.
buzz. Before
Sure.
next week I'm. pouring
Because I would
coffee
just
all
say this, you know, the goal of fencing the
Oh,
campuses
there you go.
is not to, there you go.
Kayla's got it here. So, this is the baseball hut right here, a hut, whatever. If you come directly south, these are the homes that we're talking about. You can almost see the well mowed area and then the shrubbery here.
it was the first subdivision in Sultan, the Van Gelder edition, #1 in Sultan, back in 1990, or 89 actually.
And you're asking for some kind of access at that point?
Yeah, I have access right now. My fence is removable for me to come in and access, which it has been for
Right, I have a
many
gate,
years.
so we'll pay to have a gate put in, and whatever it costs, money's not an issue. And save the cedar, those 2 things, I'm happy.
I'll have to go down there and take a look to make sure. Is this a possibility to put a gate in? And that would be an additional, you'd have the roll gate. and then
Yeah,
you
I
have
mean,
yeah.
it's not part of the, bid that went out, but that's not to say that we could have an ad alternate, for that, with whoever the low bidder is.
But we do need to consider the security, because you could have a key to that gate, but then if something happened to you, or the key that you had, without our knowledge,
Right.
then
Well,
our
the way the county
security would
deals
be.
with it, and there are detention ponds that have public access and county access, and there's 2 combination locks that connect to each other.
Yeah.
So the county can open theirs and get in,
Right.
and the citizen can open theirs and get in. Either one can do it without the other one being there.
The other idea, since we went to the cyber lock system, we could, give, cyber locks, and, I can give it only a certain amount of, I could program however much access we wanna give.
Right.
So if, you
And
know.
if the key disappears, you
If
kill it.
they want to
That would be good,
have
because if there was-
have an access, they can come, I can put it in the system, they can come sync at one of our locations, and it would update the key to allow them to open and have that access.
And I like the idea, because if there is a current threat assessment, we can lock them out.
Right.
Correct.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I can set temporary access and it just
Right.
expires.
Okay.
And we use that temporary access for substitute teachers, so it expires every 24 hours, so if they forget and take the key home.
And then if they sell or move or whatever, and then I think that should like cut that off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
So, there's a solution, it's just that we have some logistics behind.
When does
figuring
bids close?
that. Third.
3rd of September? Okay, so it's still, what, 9, 12, 2
Actually,
weeks away.
the trees are the 3rd, and the August 26th is the fence.
Okay, so Friday, the bids
Next-
close for fence.
Yeah, this Friday.
Okay.
And you save money by not cutting the cedar. Plus, in 100 years, 200, 300, 400 years, you can cut it and probably pay for a whole new building.
Is the cedar on school district property, or is it on your property?
It's on our property.
It's on our property.
And there's also, to the neighbor to the east of them has this massive, biggest cherry tree I've ever seen. It's gotta be 40 feet tall.
That's big.
If not big, and it has 4 leads off the ground. They're about this big. And 2 of the leads lean into our property, and 2 of the leads lean towards their home. And so I've included removing the whole thing. Homeowner still has yet to get back to me, but I'm offering to remove the whole thing, because if once we remove our side, I'm worried that it'll maybe fall, because that's a lot of counterweight.
Yeah. I think it's already fallen to one side of the fence, hasn't it?
No, that was an old.
Cottonwood.
Cottonwood, it was cottonwood, you're right, it was cottonwood. And the top of it broke out, hit the ground, took out their fence, we replaced the fence, well, we actually
Paid to.
paid to
Right.
replace it. And then we took out the rest of the tree to get rid of all there was a lot of window makers in it. And those make a mess when they get there.
Yes,
Oh.
so you see there's no trees behind my place. I removed them many years ago.
So that's the fence update for both the elementary and the high school, and kind of the tree update. The trees, like I said, that bid will be finalized on the 2nd, which is a week from Friday, a week from Friday. The portables that we've installed, there's been some hoops and some problematics. Right now, we're waiting on the fire, the bells and whistles for fire to be installed so that we can get certificate of occupancy. Currently, the city of Sultan's kind of holding us up on the permit for that. We don't apply for the permit, the fire company does. So we're kind of waiting on that. We framed up to put all new sidewalks, all new portables for ADA compliance. They all have brand new aluminum ramps and steps for access. They are all LED lighting, HVAC. We equipped them all with new whiteboards, new student desks and chairs, and all these things for those portables are all through the impact fees. The impact fees is paying for that. Impact fees, for those of you that are new, are the fees charged to a new home that impacts the district. So it doesn't come out of the regular taxpayer's pocket. Transportation, Tex kind of took away all my gusto on that. There is one portion that I want to do on that. When we squeezed down our project, we squeezed down the size of the bus parking area, and I'd like to look at possibly recapturing that space. The fence line never did change, but it would be nice to at least gravel another section to have the buses park on it, to give that parking lot a larger space. It'll be kind of cramped with the current scope.
So I thought we had to, as part of this, and the state giving us 4 million or close to 4 million, we had to have parking for 49 buses.
Up to.
Up to 49, okay, up to, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we squeezed the project down to include only what we currently have, not for future growth. And that's why I'd like to see us as a district, since the bid came especially low, that we could potentially re-expand that parking area so that while we have the money to do it, that we could finish the project, so it's not something that, another can that we would kick down the road. And then, last but not least, Dan and I and Dan have been talking a little bit with Enterprise about potentially updating our white fleet. In the board packet, I don't know if you got the Excel version of that.
No, it's PDF.
Yeah, it's a PDF there, but it's an Excel spreadsheet that you can change the numbers of each of the different vehicles to change what the cost would be. Just after I first started here, I came up with a replacement plan that was board approved, and it's not been followed. We haven't had any funding to do it, so I've been doing kind of like technology, getting things that are surplus or giveaways. to keep our fleet going. And it would be nice to have vehicles, especially for our staff members that travel out of district, to have a safer vehicle. We have, I think our lowest mileage vehicle is over 100,000 miles, which isn't horrible, but I think one of them, we have one that's got 200,000 miles that the staff use.
So the previous sheet was not an interaction one. I think the reason for bringing this forward is some time ago, when we've given you various budgeting documents for whether it's be vehicles or facility needs, you've directed us to come up with a solution. The challenge we run into is we can't really buy anything with the amount of money you have. What is up there on, what Charlie had up on there is just one example, but I would recommend if we did undertake something like this, and I think we need to do something at some point, it would start with significantly less than's represented on that sheet.
So the program is a lease program, and we would own the equity in the vehicles. Recently, with the current used car market, it's been very equitable for companies that use the program. But even historically, it's been well. Basically, when they review the fleet every year. If a vehicle looks like it might have worth beyond what is owed, then they would want to swap that out, sell it. We would get the equity to go towards other leasing. So as we go through the process, we don't own the vehicles, but we own the equity, I guess.
In this case, who does the maintenance?
We would do the maintenance.
You can do it either way, but we would do it.
Yeah.
So there's a difference in pricing when it comes to maintenance?
The pricing that is included is us doing the maintenance.
That you have here?
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, I haven't had a chance to really look at it, and just kind of, if we're gonna enter into this thing, I'd like to study it with 2 or 3 people at the table, yourself and.
Sure.
And
Yeah, so most of the new vehicles are 7,500 to 10,000 mile oil change intervals, depending on the vehicle. So, you know, gosh, I don't know that we have any vehicle that we even put 7,000 miles on in a year.
Yeah.
So, but we would still change it yearly. Most of the vehicles in the program are a synthetic blend, oil, or a full synthetic. All transmission fluid is full synthetic.
Of course, if you go down to Rodham, they'll tell you, don't buy 4,000 miles to change the oil.
Yeah, there's some people like myself who still do every 3,000,
Yeah.
even though my truck says 7,500.
The jury's still out on all of that.
There's no such thing as over maintenance.
So I think, Ed, to kind of meet what you're asking, I think is a good idea. We can, and I would suggest with our board president being in the car business, that we get him involved and, you know, figure out a way
Yeah,
to.
it'd be nice to sit down and say, this is what we have, this is what we can rent, this is what the maintenance is, you know, and start throwing all that stuff around.
Yep, I have all that in one it's a spread workbook. It's got different spreadsheets part of the workbook.
But rather as an individual doing it, I'd rather be in a little talk session.
Sure.
So that we get a good idea,
Yeah, whenever you guys wanna do that.
But why don't you, in the next few days, reach out, Charlie, and, you know, see if a couple board members want to be involved. And
Is Russ out of town?
he's not feeling good, so
Okay.
that's why he's not here today.
Well, we could even do it a Zoom if he's not feeling good. It's easy to share the screen.
Well, I just, you know, and I bring him up just because of the car dealership.
And do we have to have 2 or less, right?
Just to avoid a quorum,
Yeah.
you know. And we can, you know, the city of Sultan does this same thing. Lots of school districts do this. It's just
Well,
really
you have
difficult.
to.
What's that?
You have to, in order to get the straight idea in your head
Yeah,
about what's going
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
So you're gonna reach out to
Russ and then
I
schedule
will
something?
email them probably before I leave here, so I don't forget. I'm
Good
over
idea.
50 now, so it's, you know, sometimes it's,
I'm so with you.
What?
Lots of notes.
you know.
I don't-
Thank you.
I don't
Thank you,
think-
So we'll reach back out to you guys.
Yeah, I have your numbers.
Yeah, that was a great
I'll just come down
presentation.
and be
I
back
really
tomorrow.
appreciate the high quality here. This is amazing.
If you,
Great school board,
if you
great
know the neighbor with
presentations.
the cherry tree, let me.
Heidi?
Is that his name?
Yeah.
If you see
Just
them.
quick on Roxanne and I were going back and forth. That's what she's talking about.
Oh, I know.
She's-
I'll tell
you know,
them.
getting confused with your dates and
Yeah,
all that.
yeah.
I understand why we went to the military, so he works late.
Yeah, all four of you.
Yep, okay, thank you.
Need to straighten out what, yeah, with her.
Thanks, Charlie.
Yep.
You're good. You don't need to hang around. I know it's late.
Thanks, Charlie.
What time you get here, 5:30?
I get to work at 5:30.
5:30. You're good.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the review of resolution 21-.
Now, this is just a clarification. We doubled up on resolution numbers, and this is, we just wanted to show you that what you passed, we had already used, and so it's just a new number is all it is, no change.
Okay.
So, but I did have a question, like, what are the requirements currently for a substitute? Is that what's in here?
Yes, yeah, that's.
So what are you going to drop in order to, for the, what what qualifies you for the emergency substitute? What are the,
Well, our qualifications are, you have to have a bachelor's degree.
for emergency?
Yes, for emergency.
Okay,
Yeah, and we interview, do background check, do all that stuff.
yeah.
And so the board typically every year does this by resolution, but when we transitioned from Cassie to Kayla and me being involved, this resolution number had already been used. And we
Yeah.
went back, so that's all it is changing.
I just was confused as to what the regular substitute had to do to qualify as opposed to an emergency.
Well, a regular substitute would be somebody that has went to school to be a teacher, they've got the degree or the endorsement, they just haven't gotten a full-time job.
Okay.
This is so that we can fulfill classroom substitutions with people that don't have teaching certificates, is really the only difference.
Okay, that's what I needed,
Yeah.
that was the point I was.
But they have to have a bachelor's degree, so.
From somewhere.
In something.
So moved.
So moved, yeah, there you go. Second.
Okay, so do we need to, do we
need
need to have a
to
motion pass it because we
just
changed
Just say, make a
the,
motion to accept
Okay.
the new resolution number.
because of the new
for-
number,
yeah.
okay. All right, so do we have a motion to accept the review of resolution 2112 revisions?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And we move on to.
Non-represented contracts, I put them all together, don't know if you want to pass them together, but these are Paul Douglas, Dan Ballard, and Mike Marin, and when it says non-represented, they're not part of the group, they're individual, but their contracts are related to our administrative salary schedule. I recommend that you approve them, and that's,
Well, I have a couple questions
okay?
about Paul, he's the only guy here.
Dan's
here.
Well, first of all, there's a couple of typos on these, oh yeah, there's Dan, I'm sorry, Dan.
In the dark corner.
Yeah, Heidi. There's a, boy, I thought I,
Couple of typos?
yeah, in, I think it's in Mike's, there's a FF instead of FG, H and I in the margin, in the contract.
You know what, there was, that's.
That was probably the paragraph that got deleted.
Yeah, there was some things that got deleted, and they got just, it was stuff they were already getting, cell phone, it just got rolled into the contract. So I thought I corrected those, but apparently I did
You
not.
just
So,
didn't, it doesn't
then-
autocorrect for some reason, you have to manually fix it.
Okay.
Dave Moon, I hate this thing here.
Oh, what to do that?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm gonna get back. Okay, well, anyway, so this is for
I know.
Mike Marin,
Yeah.
and I can't even find my notes. getting old.
No, I was the one that made changes to that. There was also, I think in Paul's, there was some extra days that could be.
Okay, so it's in Mike Marin's where you have E, F, F, and, so it should be E, F, G, and I, and H.
Okay.
So there's that. Well, I can't believe.
I believe it has to do with the paragraph related
Oh,
to the
here we
cell
go.
phone that was rolled into base and didn't restore.
Just right on Mike Marin, just two Fs.
That's
there
correct.
in the-
Oh,
And there was
Yeah.
one other one, but it was
Yeah.
Paul's, and that was where,
We caught it on mine, we manually did it.
yeah, I thought he did all of them, but apparently I did not.
That's what it is, though.
And then in, so in Mike Marin's, there'd be an item I, which I forget what that is, but Paul's contract does not contain that.
Correct.
Which is, which is work that must be accomplished outside of normal work schedule. So that's not in Paul's, right?
No, we rolled it into his
That-
contract. Because
Okay.
he works.
You're
better
trying to
than that.
confuse us old people, is what you're doing.
Well, people have the option to do it either way.
Yeah, yeah.
And we could either put it in there as the 5 days, or we'll take that value and roll it in.
Okay, so you're happy,
Yeah,
okay,
I don't have to track the days because it's already in the contract.
okay. Well, then in Dan Ballard's, one of the things, Dan, that you don't have is bereavement.
You should.
Okay, I guess I didn't.
Well, he gets 3 and 5, and
I guess, well, I appreciate that, I guess I never noticed that.
so.
Well, that's an oversight. We've
That's
been
an
doing this
oversight,
for a
yeah.
while.
Yeah, that's
We'll-
good to have that.
We will add it in. It was not intentional to not be there. It should be exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate
then
that.
your vacation day payout at the end is different than everybody else.
That was-
That's correct.
That's correct.
That was something, yeah, that was
Okay.
negotiated a number of years ago.
And then kind of a general
Well, you're
question.
talking about the 20 days versus 5?
Well,
Or
yeah,
the 25 versus
20, and,
10.
yeah, those, as
That
long
was
as,
it's the same difference.
okay.
But if we're gonna take 5 potential days that you could cash out, and if you're gonna cash them out, we're
No,
gonna roll
as
that
long
in the
as, as
contract.
long as they're happy with their
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah, no,
that-
Dan and I
that's
talked about it,
all
and
I-
yes, it was a conscious decision to go from 25 to 20 and take the 5 and
Right.
into the base already,
Okay.
so, yeah.
Because at first I assumed these were all the same contracts until I started looking at them, I know.
They may have been a number of years ago, but I know that in my case, we've made some language changes that Dan and I
Yeah, there's
discussed, and I
differences
don't
in
know
all
what happened with, my people.
They're a bit minimal, but I will tell you, in Paul's, his position used to, there was a significant amount of July work, because we have kids on campus for ESY, and so he had 10 days that he could, turn in timesheet for because of the amount of work
Right.
beyond the 223 days, and so he doesn't have any more timesheeting in, but it's rolled into his contract, is what it is. That's why you see the differences.
So I'm still working those
I'm
days.
gonna keep track of you.
I'm always here. It's-
Yeah. The other kind of interesting thing is that item H, which is the paid extra if you don't get your job done at the end of the year, I think, kind of thing, or from other issues, let's see.
Whose is that?
It's in all of them, actually, if you, well, no, it's not in his, but it's, if there's an additional 5 days, according to, if the superintendent agrees, which you can complete your work after the 223 days, you can have 5 more paid days if something comes up and you have to stay an extra few days.
These are the timesheet. That's what they timesheet.
Okay,
So if somebody like Dan and Paul, before they could have timesheeted this board meeting,
okay.
or if they have to come in on
Well,
Saturday.
that's where I'm going with this, is because it says in the contract they're required to attend all the board meetings,
Yeah.
but they don't get paid extra under item H for the
No.
board meeting.
Well, Dan's position, since well before I got here, always had required to attend board meetings.
Right.
It just was part of part of the way it was set up. I don't know who set it up that way. So theoretically, I guess, because it says that, I'm not sure that you would timesheet it.
I never have. no.
But there's plenty of other things that they could timesheet.
Right, right. So the board meetings are never time sheeted?
No.
I'll ask it that way.
No.
No.
Okay.
It would be, you know, Dan's come in on plenty of Saturdays and Sundays. Or, you know, I called him at 6 and had a question, and he had to work a couple hours in the evening or something, things like that.
I think that's all I wanted to clear up. I just was a little confused when I started actual reading through all of this stuff.
Well, these guys are all separate, they're not a group,
Yeah.
so I work with them individually.
Yeah.
Dan's has had the most change, by far. There hasn't been near as much to Paul or Mike's. And they were, you know, really the base of the contracts as they were established, really since I got here. And, you know, the board may want to do a complete review of them at some point, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to go ahead and move that we accept the 3 contracts for the
We will correct the lettering.
non-reserve representative with those
Correct the
corrections. yeah.
lettering, and are we putting the bereavement back in for?
Yeah, I apologize if, I don't know.
And I apologize, I missed it.
We talked, and that's not one of the things we talked about. I didn't know it wasn't there. I think everybody has bereavement. 3 and 5 is very reasonable.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if anyone else has any questions or comments first.
Standard.
Hey, Dan, title-wise, got the
Oh,
incorrect.
yeah, that's the other thing.
That's also another issue.
Yeah, we didn't put assistant superintendent there. We can add that to the
Well,
contract.
what is that phraseology that you did use? I've got,
So we're gonna correct the lettering, add the bereavement back in, and correct job title.
You just put assistant superintendent of special programs and school support, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so with the understanding that we're going to correct the lettering, add the bereavement back in for Dan Dollar, and correct the job title.
And Dan, I apologize.
No, I missed
didn't
it
even
too.
notice.
Do we have a motion to approve all
I get a kickback.
3 contracts?
I'll move some.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion moves. And then second reading of policy 3420 and flex prevention.
I have no questions.
No questions.
I didn't either, it looked good to me. Do you have any questions?
Nope, looks
Okay,
good.
I have a motion to approve the policy 3420.
So moved.
Do you have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. And we have first reading of policy 3432 for emergencies.
Do you have anything?
I had no questions on emergencies.
No questions.
No
So
questions
moved
from
and
you.
adopt.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve policy 34, the first reading of 3432 for emergencies?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we move to first reading of policy 3417.
No questions on that.
I have a suggestion. Dan?
Yes.
This catheterization, this is, yeah, that's pretty personal. But I think since those kinds of medical things, people go to the doctors for, right? So I think our policy should be, that's a nurse function, period, nobody else. Not even self, I think. I would say that if a kid has to do that, we're only talking about urine, is that correct?
Bladder, yeah.
It's only urine? Because, you know, that could be applied to a lot of other things. But I would say our policy should say if that has to be monitored and done, the student would have to go to the school nurse.
Okay.
And I would say no exceptions because things go on in the school bathrooms and stuff like that. I just don't think that should be going on. I don't know if Paul did.
I think in most cases, when we have a student like that, there's an order, doctor's order, and typically the nurse is the one that
Yeah,
checks the catheter.
right, right. And so why can't our policy just reflect that?
Yeah, they can.
So that would be my recommendation for the
Okay.
change.
I mean, like, in your tenure here, Paul, how many catheters have there been?
Yeah, it's not very many.
Yeah.
I don't think we have any right now.
The nurse said, no, we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Doesn't
So
mean
I
it
think
couldn't
you're generally
happen,
right
but-
that it would be
Yeah.
ordered to be done by the nurse. The difference might be if you have a kid that's a junior or a senior that has had this for their whole life and
Has
they,
the ability to handle
you know,
themselves.
well skilled on doing it, you know.
yeah, we just don't run into them very often. It's just, I mean, doctors don't want to have that be a long-term issue. It's just
Yeah.
open for disease and infection and so on, so.
And I'm just thinking of social stuff too, you know, I mean, you got even a junior and senior, they go to the girls' room or the boys' room or whatever it happens to be. The other kids are in there. I don't
So
know.
with it being a district-wide policy, should we be differentiating in verbiage that if we're talking about an elementary or middle school student, that student should be only seen by the nurse for that, and if we're talking somebody who's over 16, they can do it themselves or go to the nurse? Or do we need that?
I'm just saying our policy should say nurse, period.
I would say you probably have to go to the nurse's office regardless of your age. It's,
Should be.
I haven't seen a lot of, I mean, it's possible for a person to change the bag and things without removing the catheter. But I would say going to the nurse's office and having a nurse, because then you're actually reviewing the site to make sure there's no infection and things like that. It's probably the safest. Any kids that we have that would be in a situation in an adolescent, we send them to the health room anyway, so that they're not embarrassed, that they're maintaining their dignity and respect for
That's pretty much what this says.
No, you can allow the kid to do it itself or whatever. I'd like our policy to say, get a catheter, you need to check, you go to the nurse and it's done.
I mean, and then the nurse can use discretion, right, to decide if the student can do it, or the nurse supervises the student.
Yeah, I think you let the nurse make that judgment. The other piece of that, I would say that parents can come in and meet their child in the health room to change the catheter.
So if we just say that they need to go to the health room,
Yeah.
then we can put the rest of it in the policy, not the procedure.
Right.
I mean, not.
Procedure.
The procedure,
Yeah,
not the
yeah,
policy, you know
yeah.
what I meant, yeah,
Yep.
said that backwards. It's that 50 thing. Okay, so then we would change the verbiage to say that it just, to say that they have to go to the nurse's station, and then we would change the actual procedure to say that a parent could come there, or the nurse can make the judgment call on how to proceed from there.
Sure.
Okay,
So with that, I'd like to move we adopt the first reading
but with changes, right?
with those changes.
Yeah, so we want to adopt the policy for 3417 with the changes that the policy will read that the student must go to the nurse. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. And then we have first reading of policy 3510, associated student bodies.
I'm going to abstain because I did not get that far.
Okay.
My reading stopped at item 12.
I have no questions on it or comments.
Well, it looks like the changes or suggested changes are just minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really is about recodifying something.
I'm good to
Okay.
just move forward.
All right. Do you have a motion to accept first reading of policy 3510?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And mark me down as abstain, please.
Okay, and then we are on to 13 policies for 9/12/22.
Just want to point something out here. I didn't catch this, but I think that the first read of this should be the 26th of September.
Okay.
But because we're doing the second read of these policies here
Yeah.
on the 12th, we give you the next ones out a month early before the first read.
Right. I just had down
So I
the
think
opportunity if
we can
anybody
stay
had
on
any
this track,
questions.
but I think I missed it.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask them about it right now, or?
Nope.
Okay, here you go. And then superintendent's report.
Okay, so, let me get here, so, fueling station discussion. You know, we do pretty well right now with fuel, and the price that we pay. We do it through, is it CSG, is that the name of the outfit? So we fill up through, back behind the Chevron, back in there. The price we get is pretty good. We pay a fraction of the taxes that everybody else pays, which is good for us, unfortunate for everybody else. The fire station and city have suggested that we at least consider, they'll probably move on without us if we don't join, them putting a above-ground tank on at the fire station, and us all three participate in fueling through that. So it'd be several things to analyze, cost, risk, all those things. For the fire station, it's advantageous for them to do that, because if there was something to happen, that you couldn't get, fuel downtown or whatever, we would still have access to fuel, which, would be good, and it, for the fire station, it helps their rating. I like it that it would be on the fire station's property and not ours.
Yeah.
If you've been over to the old bus barn, once upon a time, there was a above-ground fueling tank over there. And I'm not sure, when or what or why, but it, just became obsolete, didn't use it anymore. So this is just a conversation for consideration, and let you know that, that topic has been brought up with us, and certainly want to figure out a way to discuss it with the board and see if there's any interest. I don't know all of the details. We've done some preliminary comparison of costing and prices, and what we're paying right now is pretty good compared to what you see. Like diesel, I think we're paying $3.40, something like that.
You're not paying $3.40. I
No
know that.
way.
Let me show you.
I'm paying $4.40, red off-road, no tax.
Okay, well, I'll show you what
Wanna
Charlie
trade?
sent me.
I gotta call World Connect.
Do you have a tank at your house?
No, I buy down there, I have an account with World Connect. It's called, it used to be APP and it's World Connect now, and they keep changing ownership.
Well, I'm probably, I don't know what's going on here, this thing, all over the place.
But they got all sorts of different categories,
That's correct, that's true.
But I get a quote almost every day. The price varies quite a bit, but it is down. It was down to $4.20 for off-road.
Okay, it is. And honestly, there's about, you kind of said that, there's about 10 different. So for example, extra low diesel number 2, or ultra low diesel number 2, I don't even know what that is, we paid $3.75.
That can't be.
Probably because it's a school.
Diesel number 2, ultra low sulfur, we pay $3.27. Unleaded regular,
I wanna use your card.
406. So these are, and this is for World Connect, this is for.
Yeah, World Connect.
And you guys, well, I'll send you these, just so you can see.
Yeah.
I
I'll
don't
have to have
know.
a conversation with them,
Yeah,
Yowza.
because that's not off-road, that's the tax diesel for on-road,
yeah, so we don't pay any federal tax.
Yeah.
We pay some state tax for sure.
So where would the fire and how big a tank are they gonna, did they tell you how big a tank?
I don't know those details.
I'd be interested in hearing more about
But
what
they
their
were
plan
talking
is.
about being able to save $2 a gallon, and so then I said, well, I need to check in. I used to, at times pay real close attention to this. And we looked at it and I said, well, we're already paying a really low price. I don't know how you can beat this,
Yeah.
but if you can, you can. And we at least need to talk about it because, when diesel, what is it, $5.75 a gallon for a citizen to buy right now? It's ridiculous,
Tell me about it.
So just because you do business with the fire department, it doesn't mean you close your account with World Connect.
Correct. When these things are broached, if there's a way to do better than you're doing,
Yeah.
and, have access to something, it's, we always try to take a look at it. And so it's not gotten any farther than preliminary discussion. But I will forward you this tonight when I get home.
If they put in a 5,000 gallon tank above ground, that would probably be worth looking into.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would depend on how big the tank is and how much you can get the food for.
Well, you'd want the 5,000 gallon, because if they had a big drain, you wouldn't want to drive up there with your school bus and say, well, we don't have enough fuel to give you today.
Yeah,
You know,
that would be
sort of
my
thing.
worry, yeah,
Yeah.
right. So they'd have to take into account, what is our usage? What is our normal
So-
monthly usage? Cities usage.
Ultra low diesel number 2, it looks like we've done 22,078 gallons. Costed us $70,000. Then when you add the state tax in, it's up to 83. State and local tax, but the taxes we pay are not as much as everybody else either.
And how many buses are we running on that?
We have 30, run 20 to 25 depending.
So the answer to the question is, yeah, we look into it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, maybe they,
World Connect
they can
doesn't
put
have
the
to know.
info together and
Yeah.
somebody can come present their proposal.
and then I, as a board member, should have one of those cards where I can repay the school district for my fuel.
I think we all need one of those.
So does that mean I can fuel up my trucks?
Yeah, why not? The more the school uses, the better
The
the
better the
price.
deal, 500 gallons at a time.
Yeah, see, I don't have to pay tax either, see, I'm already at that.
Yeah.
You don't pay any at all?
No sales tax, no road tax, none of that. But you can't burn that, if you burn that fuel, get caught, you're in jail on the road.
Yeah.
When it says off-road, it means off-road, and they stick your tank and it's red, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's a hefty fine.
Yeah,
What they call red diesel versus green. Green is what you have to use on the highway.
right. And if you put that red dye in your tank and then say, I'll just burn it out and then fill it up with the regular, that red dye stays in there for tank after tank after tank. You can't flush it.
Watching.
How do you
know that?
I know, that's what I was gonna say. How would you know how many tanks it goes through?
Sounds like you learned from experience.
That's the stories I hear, blogger stories.
Okay, so let me get back.
Something
here.
about enrollment update?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell right now. I was talking to a principal today, there's kids that are enrolled right now that I know are already in Oklahoma. And it just takes a while for that to all cycle through.
Catch up.
So, but I would say that just based on what we're seeing, that I think our enrollment number should be a real safe number. I can't give you an exact right now. They're busy and there's a lot of happening, but I've also seen the high school at over 600 kids, and by the time we started, it was 550. Just because you have kids that have moved to different programs,
Right.
and they've moved communities, it just takes a while for everything to catch up.
So are we finding that our new residents have already enrolled, or are they waiting until school starts?
We added a bus route because of 68 elementary kids in the neighborhoods across from me, those
Mhm.
two. And so you had to separate what used to go up to Sultan Basin and be able to pick up everybody up there and then swing over to what was just once 17 or 18 houses in Rosewood is now 200 houses,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. And, but, you know, I also talked to a couple guys, and the sales have slowed down a lot, probably interest rates and whatnot. You know, there's probably, I walked through there the other day, or went through there, there's probably 20 to 25 houses with sold signs on them that nobody's living in yet. And I don't know how that's all gonna play out when they come, I don't know who it is.
Right.
So some of this is just gonna be, have to see what happens the first couple of days of school, you know, but it, you know, I think from a portable standpoint, it was wise that we took on some more. And we'll just have to see how it all shakes out, just don't know.
We'll have a better idea by the middle of September, even though numbers have a tendency to still fluctuate into October.
Yeah, we actually grow between September and October, it's just because of people that
People are
didn't
still
show up the
moving.
first 4 days, and we can't count them. And they might show up the 5th day of school, even though they're here, but we can't, the first month, the count day is the 4th day of school. So that's, for us, it's the first Monday after the Wednesday start. And some people come rolling in a week later, and we usually grow from anywhere from 5 to 20 kids between September and October. And then the next item.
Staffing update?
Staffing update, still trying to fill Spanish at the high school. We're getting, you know, we've got a couple of real promising things we're going to, is just really having a hard time finding people that have a Spanish teaching certificate. We're working with various agencies that help provide those staff, and we'll, you know, worst case scenario is we have to do an online Spanish. We don't want to do that, but that's
Right.
worst case scenario.
Why don't we change it to Thai?
Thai?
Yeah, we got a resident here now, Thai.
Oh,
You know, the Thai restaurant.
yeah, oh, yeah.
And his wife is Thai, so go down there and give her a certificate.
I'm not sure my kids would enroll, but we do have a resident that does that. Special ed at the middle school, then there's some, you know, some para positions we're still trying to fill and various classified, and, you know, since Paul's here, he's struggling a little bit finding a speech pathologist that,
That's not uncommon. One
every
part
year
is
that's a
hard to
struggle.
fill.
This year, maybe more, or can you tell?
It's been a struggle the last couple of years everywhere. It's just getting worse. Pretty much everybody in the state is struggling with SLPs right now, and even out of state, so it's just hard to get them right now.
And then, any questions on that, staffing? Then the final one, credit retrieval, this summer school that really was strongly related to kids that had finished 75% of their class or 60% of their class. I think kids earned 70-plus credits over the summer. 85.5 credits. And so what they would come in and do is they would come in and take an assessment, and they only had to take the portion of the course that they didn't yet know or understand. And
Okay.
so that's a lot of credits. And so that's a big part of that is catch-up from, you know, the challenge and disaster that was the, you know, the remote learning.
Mhm.
So, good.
Do we know how much of this was students that were seniors this year that didn't graduate?
That had what?
That were seniors this last school year that didn't graduate? because
There was a
they were-
percentage of them that had some things to finish, but I don't think predominantly it was that. I know of, you know, I went over there a couple of different times, and I can get you that data. I don't have it, I apologize, but I can get that exact data.
Just
And
wondering
so-
if we had any that were able to complete what they needed to
Yeah,
be
there-
able to meet their graduation
I
requirements.
think there was a couple, but I don't think it was a huge number.
Yeah, it was a small number, it was like 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's better than nothing.
Yeah. But it's,
We'll
you know,
take
it's a
it.
little bit defeating when you go in, if you've struggled in remote learning, you've done, 60% of a class and you've got to start it over. They
Right.
didn't have to start them over. They took an assessment and finished up what they did not yet complete. And so I think it was uplifting for several kids.
Yeah.
The hole that was dug is now smaller or completely gone in some cases.
Right. So then those kids that finish their graduation requirements, are they going to come to
I will
the
check in with
September?
Sarita and Mike tomorrow. There was, one of the things I also heard today when I was meeting on, our ALE programs, and there was, some of those kids don't want to go through the ceremony. We had several from, I think, I don't know, it was 5 or 6 from Sultan Virtual Academy, graduated, did well. They just didn't want to do the ceremony, for whatever reason.
Okay, well, hopefully they'll wanna come to the board meeting in
Yeah,
September
we will
to
reach
get
out.
their.
I will figure out how many kids it is, and we'll see if we can't get them here in September.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
12 years of work.
Yeah, gotta celebrate it a little, right?
Can we get more info on like the start dates and everything on, not the website, but on the social media?
Yep.
Because there's a lot of questions about when school's starting, for which grades and all that, and possibly the.
Did we post that
the-
today, Kayla?
Yes, I published it to start at 7 PM, so the Facebook post
Awesome.
went up at 7 right
Thank
when
you.
this
And then
started.
even like that one-page calendar that we do, if we can put that on there as well, that would be great, because there's a lot of questions, so. That'd be
And that,
perfect.
that year at a glance calendar is on the calendar page. But maybe I'll put it on the front page because that's.
That would
what
be
I
great.
did. Okay.
And it's a little confusing because we don't have kindergartners start the first few days.
Right.
Middle school's 6th grade, high school's 9th grade, and then the second day, they all start, except kindergarten is not until Monday the 12th because they're assessing. And I'm gonna follow up with them. The big calendar will be in mailboxes about the 2nd, I think. On or about the 2nd, and then I follow up with a letter here in the next couple of days that goes through it again. And that's all I have.
Are we on the mail list for those calendars?
There's 7,000 of them, so I hope so.
Well, don't they just go to student families?
No, box
Okay.
lovers. No, it goes to everybody.
Listen, I get one in my, or in the road.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we try to, just as a, just so everybody has one, can stay tied in. I think there was it 7,400, or how many was it?
Yeah, about that. But if you don't get one, I'm getting some order for the district office so people can get some,
Grab
and I can
them.
bring one for you.
Okay. I'll watch for it. Okay. Do we have anything for executive session today?
I do not.
Okay. Do you have anything else you wanna add, or you're good? Okay. And I'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.
Hey,
9:01.
Boone.
Yes, sir.